It really irritates me. If I'm gonna be completely honest, it really irritates me. So this is my marriage box, right? This is my marriage box. You are not allowed to come into the marriage box. Kind of meet your child where he is. Don't group me in with these hoes. Hey tribe, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I have the November Wife Talks Monthly video for you. So let's talk about it.
I think we should talk about it. Diving deep, let it go.
What's up guys? So again, I have the November Wife Talks Monthly video for you. You guys submitted your questions and I'm going to go ahead and respond to them. I absolutely love this. That way we can talk and ask each other questions and have a community. I hope that this is an environment where you feel comfortable. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm in my bed and I'm comfy because I just want to make this like a comfortable vibe. So get some snacks, get some water, get a beverage, and get comfortable. So the first one is, I'm just going to read the comment. This is from Child of the Most High. I'm sorry, I'm not good with Hebrew, but I'm going to try my best. It says Thawada Akwath or Akwat. Sorry. I really feel like it's needed. She's referring to the Wife Talks Monthly. Some of us women don't have sisters in the truth or in our camps that we can go to for these type of questions / conversations. Stay blessed. All praises to the Most High. So thank you so much, sis. This comment just touched my heart because I'm glad that you feel like this is a place that you can do that. And thank you so much again for coming back, subscribing to the channel, and supporting. So I appreciate that. Okay, I think it's Advice Faye Yalafi. Advice Faye Yalafi TV. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I so apologize. But I wanted to give a shout out because sis is always coming through with the questions. So I definitely appreciate it, and I just wanted to give you a shout out. So thank you very much. But let's go ahead and get into the questions. Alright, so I had to go ahead and grab my bonnet head wrap situation for the scriptures. So first question. Shalom sister, my question is, I have 2 small children and we always did the holidays in my household. Until this year when my husband came into the truth. We tell them all the time that there is no Christmas this year and explain why. But they always get really upset. Now my family is telling us we shouldn't take Christmas away from them because we got to enjoy it as a child and just do it for the kids' happiness. I am really struggling. Also, do y'all celebrate kids' birthdays? This is a great question. So the first part of the question, kids, they're kids, they love the gifts and, maybe the feeling that they get around a holiday. It's a lot of family, a lot of glitter, a lot of lights and things like that. So kids like that kind of stuff. So my best advice to you would just kind of keep explaining to them often why we're not doing that, why we're not celebrating the pagan holidays, why we celebrate high holy days, and kind of keep just doing it over and over again, and eventually they will get it. So I don't mean this in any way like bad shape or form, like trying to tell you how to discipline or raise your kids. That's not what I mean by what I'm about to say. But we're the parents and they're the children, and just like anything else, we make decisions every day that we're protecting our children and letting them know who they are and what the right thing to do and what the wrong thing to do and why we don't partake in certain things is the same as protecting them from getting hit by a car or something along those lines. You're protecting their salvation. So at some point, they're just going to have to be upset and they're going to have to get over it. Stay strong and stay the course. So the next part of the question is about family. So, this is this is one of those things that, y'all, It really irritates me. If I'm gonna be completely honest, it really irritates me because, yeah, we grew up with Christmas, but we were doing the wrong thing, right? I like to use the analogy of poison. If you're drinking the poison and you don't know that it's poison and you're having a great time drinking the poison and you've been drinking the poison your whole life, and then one day someone says to you, hey, that's poison, you're gonna stop drinking the poison, right? And you're gonna protect your children from drinking the poison. So it's just one of those things where it's like, now that you know better, you do better. Now that you know what you're supposed to do, then you do it. So it's just one of those things where you kind of also have to explain to your family that, listen, my kid's salvation is important to me. And if you actually read the Bible and you actually spend time doing that instead of going by whatever your pastor is saying or whatever you learn in church, you would realize the truth as well. I appreciate you as a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, but these are my children. And you had the opportunity to raise me and raise your children, and now it's my time to have the opportunity to raise my children and raise them in the way that I see fit. And sometimes you just have to be, it's not being rude and it's not being disrespectful. It's just kind of drawing a line and saying, this is not going to happen, and I'm sorry if you feel disrespected by that, but this is just what it is. And as far as me, we don't celebrate the kids' birthdays in this house. I mean, my husband and I kind of differ on this. He says it's okay to say happy birthday. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with it, but I'm more so on the lines of, I will say, I appreciate you, how, you know, like, I love you, the best day of my life is when you were born, that type of thing. I'm more so, like, I don't really like to say happy birthday just because I do sometimes just because, you know, that's what my husband says to do, but I more so feel like that's like a pagan terminology. It kind of celebrates idolatry, and I would just much rather tell them how much I love them and how proud I am to be their mom, that type of thing. So we don't celebrate kids' birthdays in this household. But I wanted to go ahead and read some scriptures pertaining to this question. So the first one is Luke 12:53. The father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter against the mother-in-law against the daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. And I pulled this scripture because when you come into the truth, you may potentially lose a lot of people. They're not going to want to associate with you anymore, or your relationships are going to change drastically because they don't agree with the way maybe you're raising your children or how you're living. You may be now telling them how the right way when they've been doing it a certain way and teaching you a certain way when you were a child. That happens so much when you have like a mom or a grandmother or an aunt or uncle or whatever family member that is so rooted in Christianity, and now you're trying to tell them the right way and they don't want to hear it. I pulled the scripture just because this demonstrates how relationships will change. You kind of have to be prepared for that. Also, I pulled Mark 10:7-9. And for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder. The reason why I pulled that scripture is because when you get married, you and your husband become one flesh. Your husband is the head of the household. So if your husband is in the truth and he's saying to you, this is what's going on, this is what it is now, he's the head of the household, so he makes the decisions. So you guys are now one flesh. So anyone that's trying to come into that situation and tell you you shouldn't be doing this or you don't need to be doing that or whatever the case may be, If your husband is telling you, no, this is what's going down, you cannot let anyone break that. Okay? The husband, I like to think of the husband and wife relationship as a barrier, right? It's in this like little box. I always like to say, like, I'm not a person who likes people in my personal space. So if you're like, if this is my personal space, if you're in this area, then we have problems, other than like my children and my husband and stuff like that. So this is my marriage box, right? This is my marriage box. You are not allowed to come into the marriage box, okay? That's not for you. If you're in that marriage box, you crossing a line. That's not for you to cross that line. And that's kind of how I like to think about it. So no one should be telling you, if your husband is telling you that we're in the truth now, no one should be coming in and telling you how to raise your children, how to run your household and do all of that. We're not doing that. Also, I wanted to give you this because I was just kind of doing some research for some other things, and I came across a high holy day where you can actually give gifts so your kids don't feel like that's being ripped away from them. So it's for Purim. Now Purim is not some people don't recognize Purim as a high holy day, but because it's in the Apocrypha, and a lot of people don't subscribe to the Apocrypha. If you don't know what the Apocrypha is, it's the books that were taken out of the Bible. But if you do observe Purim, there's a scripture, it's Esther 9:19. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month of Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and sending portions to one another. Sending portions to one another means giving gifts. So if you want to do something like that where you're giving your kids gifts and that type of thing, then you can do that during Purim, and that's usually in February, March, that time of the year. Also, another way you could do it is, you may not be able to like do gifts during Christmas, but you can like surprise your kids with something, I don't know, couple times a year, 3 times a year. You know, they come home from school, or you hide something under their bed and, you know, make it like a game or something like that. It does. Just because we don't give gifts on certain holidays doesn't mean we can't give gifts at all. You can just make it kind of like a fun thing where you're just doing it a different time of the year, and we're not attaching like holidays and birthdays and things like that to it. So I hope that helps a little bit. So the next question is, I have a question. We are still quite new to the Hebrew Israelite truth, me and my husband. But I have no idea how to introduce it to my son. He's 14, and we are trying to teach him about the feast days and how holidays are pagan. But he's just not wanting to participate, and my husband is not really strict with our son. Any advice? Thank you. So appreciate your question. Like with the first question I answered, you just kind of have to put your foot down and continue to explain why we don't celebrate pagan holidays and why we do celebrate high holy days and feast days. Keep saying the same thing over and over again, and it may get frustrating as a parent, because you feel at some point you may feel like he's just being disrespectful because he just refuses to give it up. But one, he's a teenager, so it's not the same as when you have a younger child who kind of just, you know, you can kind of build that up a little bit more, build that rapport up a little bit more. He's hormonal because he's a teenager. You know, he's going through that testing phase. I feel like kids go through that testing phase when they're young, and then they go through it again when they're in their teenage years. Pray, of course. Pray that kind of get on the train. So you definitely want to pray to the Most High. I have 6 kids. Now all my kids are like, I mean, for the most part, my kids, you know, they're my kids are in the truth. They follow the law, statutes, and commandments. But some of them are not. They're not like, yay, we're Israelites. Woohoo! Like, you know, so I completely understand that. It's just about, like I said, putting my foot down, putting your foot down, keep drilling it into them that this is what is going on. And, you know, this is the switch we're making as a family, and this is what we're doing. So get used to it, pretty much. I also think it's a good idea to kind of meet your child where he is. So finding a way to reach him with the things that he enjoys doing. So something my husband has decided to do, which I absolutely love and appreciate, is on Sabbath, we always have like a Bible study type situation. It's our holy convocation. We get together, we read scriptures, we discuss certain things. And what he's been doing lately is he will find certain songs, like rap songs or R&B songs. They're usually songs from mostly our generation that have certain meanings behind it. So one Sabbath we did Erykah Badu's On and On, and last week we did Public Enemy's Fight the Power. And my husband basically emails them a series of questions. They have to complete the assignment, and it's usually talking about how maybe certain lyrics in the song, how the song in general pertains to what's going on today, finding scriptures in the Bible that pertain to the song. And so it makes it fun because you're meeting them at a level. I mean, kids love music. At this point, it may not be the music you like, but kind of finding something where they can put their input in, they can get a little bit excited about. Even video games, if you can find like a certain video game that he likes to play, and maybe asking him if he can find a scripture that coincides or pertains to a certain portion of the video game or something like that. So I'm a very firm believer in kind of meeting your child where he is or she is and getting them involved in that way. I hope that made sense. But I'm going to go ahead and read some scriptures. Proverbs 22:3-6. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the forward. He that doeth keep his soul shall be far from them. Train up a child in a way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. I think that's a great scripture just to kind of sit down and explain to your child that he may not understand or like what he's being taught now, but it's going to teach him to be a better person, a better teenager, a better man, and it's going to teach him how to kind of deal with the world and be a righteous man. The next one I have is Ephesians 6. The two scriptures that I'm about to read is pertaining to your husband not being really strict on your son. Again, I don't mean this in any like bad way. I'm not trying to tell you or your husband how to raise your child, but your husband has to be, I don't want to say strict, but he kind of has to be on your son about this, because as women, our job is to train up our children and take care of the younger children. But as women, we cannot teach a boy to be a man. We can't teach a man to be a man. Like, I can't teach my son how to be a black man in America. I can't teach my son how to take care of a household and repair things and be emotionally supportive to his wife. Like, I can do a little bit of that, but the best person to teach him how to do those things is going to be his father or a man, a strong male figure that's in the truth, that fears the Most High in his life. And this is Ephesians 6. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. And then Proverbs 13:24, he that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasten him betimes. So I thought those were great scriptures to kind of, maybe you can present them to your husband, that, you know, disciplining and teaching and kind of being on your son, quote unquote strict, is not hurting him, it's helping him. And the Most High basically gives you the scriptures to kind of prove that. So I hope that helps. The next question is, what are some things a Hebrew wife should work on that's not often talked about or does not get enough attention like it should? How do you handle your emotions now that you're married? Being a wife in the truth can be tough. What advice do you have for other young ladies? The first thing is being versed in scripture on your own. I say this because not all men that are in the truth are righteous. This is not in any way to talk bad about my brothers or anything like that. I believe most men in the truth are righteous and they're doing the right thing. But just like the world, there are some men who pervert the word and they will try to use it against you. So I think reading the Bible, doing your research, knowing what things mean on your own is extremely important. So you know what your role is, what you should be doing, what your husband should be doing. Honestly, some men come into the truth and they use it to control, abuse, and hurt their wives. And that is just a reality of the situation. So I think that's something that is extremely important. The next thing was overcoming loneliness. And that goes to what the shout out that I gave at the beginning of the video, because there's not a lot of community for us Israelite women sometimes. So overcoming loneliness and trying to understand sometimes that you're not going to have other people that you can talk to, because sometimes when you come into the truth, as that scripture I read before in Luke, you know, relationships change. Your relationships with your friends, your relationships with your family, sometimes relationships with your own mom, your dad, your grandmother, those relationships change, and they don't have the understanding, and it's hard to sometimes be alone in this walk, because you're not alone in the walk because you do have your husband if you're married, but it can be lonely because there's some things you just can't talk to your husband about. There are certain things that only a woman in the truth can understand. It's hard out here for an Israelite woman. And I just think that praying to the Most High and trying to find community like this, if you can find one sister to hang out with, or somebody to text back and forth, or email, or whatever the case may be, just try to do that, because it can be pretty lonely out here sometimes. If you are dealing with a situation like that, I am always here to talk. You can email me, you can just drop a comment, hey sis, I need to talk to you, whatever the case may be, and I'm more than happy to, you know, try to help you get through that situation. Now, as far as the next part of the question, how do you handle your emotions now that you're married? I don't sometimes. I don't. Sometimes your girl, she can get a little testy. I'm a very emotional person. I'm what you call an HSP, a highly sensitive person. So sometimes my emotions can get the best of me. Sometimes I have to realize that everything is not about me. My husband is saying something and it may not necessarily be about me, but sometimes I can take it to heart. My husband will say something along the lines of, y'all women are out of control, right? We'll be watching something on YouTube or watching something and he'll be like, y'all women are out of control. And I'll get upset because I'm like, hey, like, I'm not these women out here. I'm doing the right thing. I'm taking care of my husband. I'm at home or whatever. And I'll take it personally because I just feel like, don't group me in with these hoes. But it's not about me. It's just a figure of speech in the way he's saying it. And remember your importance, I think, is one thing that we should definitely be talking about. I think a lot of times, because we are second in command, because we're supposed to have a meek and quiet spirit as women, that we forget how important we are to the Most High, to the community, to the truth. I'm a firm believer that the reason why our men can shine, our righteous men can shine the way they do, is because we're right behind them, pushing them forward to do the best that they can. So just remember your importance as an Israelite woman, and remember how special you are and how special you are to the Most High. So the next question is, how does a nice girl finally stand up for herself and demand respect after letting people run over her for so long? How do you put people in their place? I love how no BS you are and want to develop that while I'm still being myself. So thank you, sis. I appreciate that. I'm glad I come off as no BS. I have no time for games. I think there is this misconception that Hebrew Israelite women, we are doormats, which is absolutely not true. I think as an Israelite woman, you can be no BS without being rude or disrespectful. What does my husband love to say? You can disagree with someone without being disagreeable. I think you can tell someone no, or I didn't like that, or be assertive, correct whatever behavior made you upset in the moment. Not everybody deserves a seat at the table of your life. If people cannot respect you and respect how you feel, respect your emotions, respect and understand that the things that they do to you hurt you or is not deserved, and that is a habit, you need to cut those people off, period. I'm sorry. And I know sometimes that is family as well. Like, some people don't feel like they can cut their family off or cut certain things. That may not necessarily mean completely cutting them out their lives, but setting boundaries is important, and setting boundaries in the moment is always important. I'll tell you a story. So there is a rumor that has been going on for years about me that is completely untrue. I have no idea how this rumor started. I don't care how the rumor started. And I wish that I had corrected the rumor in the moment when I first found out about it, and I didn't. And it pisses me off, and it kind of irritates my nerves that someone would ever say something about like that about me. But I tell you what, now that I'm in a different place in my life, if I hear that rumor again, I'm gonna address it, and I'm not gonna be disrespectful or anything like that, but I'm gonna say, listen, I'm not sure where this rumor started, but it's not true. I don't appreciate going back and forth, because what you're saying is disgusting about me. What you're saying about the other person, implying, is disgusting about them, and I don't appreciate that. And I am going to ask you very nicely not to say that again, not to spread that rumor again. But if I find out that anyone else is spreading that rumor again, we won't have a relationship. And that's where I stand. So I think just setting boundaries, setting them in the moment, and doing it in a way where you're saying it in a very assertive way and a strong way, but also not being an asshole about it. I hope that helps. The other thing I wanted to address was standing up for yourself with your husband. Now, again, I think there is this misconception that Hebrew Israelite women are doormats and our husbands can say and do whatever they please to us, and where we just take it and then we go about our business. That's not the case. You can definitely stand up for yourself with your husband. Of course, we don't want to be disrespectful to our husbands. We don't want to call them assholes and jerks and pricks and things like that. and we don't want to yell and fuss. Is that going to happen sometimes? Yes, because I don't know about you, but I got bipolar disorder, and then on top of that, you might catch me when my bipolar's acting up and I'm on my lady time. It's not a good combination. Just let's try not to make it happen often. Listen, I don't like that. I'd appreciate it if you not do that again. And come on, y'all, as women, we know how to influence and entice and get what we want to get done. So work your sister magic, girl. Work your Israelite sister magic. It never fails you.
You cut to the chase.